Segment 3, Dismantling the Culture. From your book, Tom, Dismantling America, quote, "The great escape of our times is escape from personal responsibility," close quote. What do you mean?
Oh, I think that the idea of personal responsibility is more or less off the table. It's passé in many places. Again, going back to, say, the housing situation, that people took out mortgages that they couldn't afford, and that now people who didn't take out mortgages they couldn't afford are now expected to pay to bail them out. It's insane.
But you don't, they were duped by dishonest mortgage brokers, no?
Oh, there was enough dishonesty to go around. We needn't single out mortgage brokers. No, that's the narrative. The fact of the matter is that speculators took advantage. See, these things are put in these laws and policies are put into place, saying this is going to help the poor and the downtrodden. But the question is, who actually benefits from this? Speculators benefited from this more than any poor or any downtrodden. A speculator could come in, claim any income he wanted to claim in order to buy 3 or 4 houses. Nobody would verify the income. He would get them at teaser rates like 2% per year, and he didn't worry about that going up later because he was going to sell a house beforehand. And so a lot of that was in there. The other thing is that it's a very complicated financial situation. But the cold fact is, if the mortgages had continued to be paid, we wouldn't have had the mortgage crisis. So the fundamental reason for the crisis is that the mortgages weren't paid, and the fundamental reason they weren't paid is that they were made under conditions that made it unlikely that they would ever be repaid. And you knew that going in.
Right. Losing a sense of personal responsibility, you write, in Dismantling America places, quote, "a whole society in jeopardy." How is that the case? How do you draw a line from the mortgage crisis to the dismantling of the entire country?
Well, I think if you don't have a sense of personal responsibility, and what you have is the government taking money from people who are personally responsible and giving it to people who are irresponsible, or in other cases corrupt, that's not a viable situation for the long term. You're going to have ever more people being ever more irresponsible. As is happening now. I mean, in the wake of the mortgage crisis, they've raised the limit that the Federal Housing Administration will insure from about 360,000 to 720-some thousand. So they've doubled the policy that got us into problems in the first place.
Tom, you, on personal responsibility, and you and I have talked about this before. You spent part of your boyhood in Harlem.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, most of it.
All right. Tell me a little bit about the Harlem that you knew as a boy. Was it safe at night?
Yes, and when I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would get up, get dressed, and go out to a corner newsstand where there was a little old man who was white selling newspapers in Harlem at midnight. Now today, he and I would both be taken in for mental observation. You know.
How were the schools in the Harlem of your boyhood?
Oh, they were among the best in the country.
Public schools.
Public schools. Oh, I only went to public schools. I have data on the actual test scores of kids in Harlem. They were almost identical with the kids in the Lower East Side, who were almost all white. And nobody was concerned about giving me school lunches and stuff like that. They didn't ask me whether my home was broken or not. They just told me what I was supposed to do, and they made damn sure I did it.
Do your homework, get your assignments in.
That's it.
Tom, what happened between the Harlem of your boyhood, which would be what, late 40s to the mid 50s or so?
40s. I went. My first school I attended in Harlem was 1939.
Oh, real? All right. So you grew up you were there during the Second World War.
Oh, yes.
All right. So take me from the Harlem of your boyhood, in this theme of personal responsibility, to the Harlem of the 70s and 80s.
Oh, there you got the teachers became social workers, social theorists. They became propagandists for all kinds of new fads. And I guess the test was whether they made the teachers feel like it was exciting and it made the students feel good about themselves. So of course, they end up not with no education that's worth talking about.
And what about the crime rates?
Oh my goodness, the crime rates were much lower. I gave a talk.
Much lower when you were a boy. But
Yes.
so what do you attribute the rise in crime?
Oh, the rise in the idea that we have to look for the root causes of crime rather than put the bad guys in jail.
All right. So there's the dissolution of the sense of personal responsibility that the teacher is to teach, the child is to do his homework, criminals are to be picked up and put in jail.
Yes.
Now, Harlem today is pretty safe. It has enjoyed the increase in safety or the drop in crime rates that associated with the rest of New York that began under Rudy Giuliani. The Harlem economy is pretty robust. And Harlem is now home to some 24 charter schools. So what I'm trying to do, Tom, is cheer you up. I'm trying to...
Well, I need it.
I'm trying to point to evidence of the possibility of renewal, of rebirth, and that to suggest
I never denied that there was possibility for renewal and rebirth. So I haven't said it. In fact, even in my book, I say, the one good thing is that nothing is inevitable until it happens. But I also point out that there were periods of improvement as the Roman Empire moved toward its last days.